Hi, I'm Katrina Sly. I'm the Chief Operating Officer for Spaceship, and I also have responsibility for the finance function. Spaceship is a late-stage startup. We exist to support young people on the start of their investment journeys. We offer products across superannuation, managed investments, largely with the view to being an accessible offering. It's an app-based and direct-to-consumer, which means that people can access their money whenever and wherever they like. We've got sort of in excess of 250,000 customers across both our superannuation and managed investment scheme offering. It's a very competitive space, particularly against some of the big incumbents, and it's something that we need to constantly sort of assess in terms of how we differentiate ourselves. Disruption's important, as well as just offering a better product for customer experience. It's really aimed at young Australians, and I think a lot of our content and educational offering really speaks to that, and also to the simplicity of the offering, and that people can start their sort of investment and wealth journeys with, as little as $10. You're constantly pressured in this environment. You have such finite resources, you really need to be very clever about how you're deploying them, which means, ruthless prioritization becomes essential. And that's sort of what brought us in many ways to Zepto, to sort of start looking at, ways that we could enhance our operational environment while also sort of advancing our customer offering. One of the things that was really important to us was that we could work with other operators that were of similar mindset, belief, on the similar journeys, and we sort of were really struggling, I think, with some of the incumbents that we were working with in order to sort of achieve that. So as we were starting to assess our whole payments infrastructure, the bank at the time that we're working with, it was really clear that that modernity of offering just wasn't there for us. Part of the offering that Zepto was bringing to the table meant that we could fast track the new payment rails, as well as also ensuring that commercially this was actually a viable option. So I think the ability to scale, I think the information content, because this is a space that we weren't particularly comfortable with or didn't know a lot about, and were able to sort of go on that journey together. I think the stored value product, I think it just meant that commercially it made more sense, operationally it made more sense, and it meant collapsing of multiple layers that we were trying to do away with. I think the other thing was pay to, which is once again it's sort of that ease of access. I think the transparency of the customer, so both to them and to us, and also just that the speed that offers. I think in terms of sort of where we are now, certainly from where we've come from, it was this whole idea of moving to modernity and really sort of upgrading our whole environment. I think mostly the challenges that we had with sort of the banking relationship that we had were that there was an inflexibility there that we were just sort of unable to move within. And now moving to this, the Zepto environment has meant that we are part of the journey with you. There's a product roadmap that we've, feel very connected to, I think, in terms of where our business is heading, and I think where Zepto's is as well. But largely, I think the difference between where we were and where we are now is commercially, the savings have been material, which, for a late-stage startup are very impactful in a positive way. I think also too, the ability to manoeuvre much more quickly has been a major benefit to us. And also this upgrading of our operational environment, which has now meant that we can speed up, the customer experience is enhanced, and ultimately a customer not experience any change is a good thing. We've sort of also looked at a lot of our risk control frameworks, and I think this offering has meant that we are able to sort of be much more on top of that. Counterparty risk is something that we deal with in real time. We've been able to completely overhaul our payments infrastructure such that we are now sort of almost entirely off the incumbent banks, which has meant that with Zepto, we've managed to take out 2 or 3 layers of counterparties, which has been a major positive for us. We've been very, very lucky in that we've had such a really, I think, a strong relationship, and it's been a meeting of equals, I think, and the idea that when there have been, smaller matters, that they've been resolved within hours, not days. There's an open communication channel. There's escalation where needed, which is very rare. In many ways, this is a space that we're not entirely familiar with. We're really looking for partners like Zepto who could help guide us through this process. And I think being one of the few offerings that is not a bank that sort of brings this sort of product to life. I think that relationship has meant that we could advance this earlier than we could have possibly done this in any other environment. We have engineers in-house. I think there was a lot of meeting of the minds, I think, in terms of sort of solving this. In terms of Zepto, I think it worked really well. We have a lot of, informal and formal communication, and I think was really helped the project team sort of work through this quite quickly. So we're now at a point where we're doing the last piece of our transformation. Definitely lived up to expectations. More than anything, that strength of relationship. Things are going to occur, it's just the nature of business, and that we can work through these together very quickly. So I think that we've been very successful in resolving things really quickly as needed. And I think just the ability and the scale that Zepto offers has been, phenomenal for us. In terms of working with Zepto in contrast to a traditional bank, it's just the speed of the access to the team, the access to the engineers. In terms of sort of incumbents, obviously this takes weeks and months. I think working with Zepto itself, it's meant that things could progress. And in fact, we're the delay, not necessarily, Zepto itself. In terms of this generation, yes, there is sort of an expectation that things happen when I push the button, either in or out. That's meant that we've had to really manage through that, which I think, the Zepto offering has really helped with. We've just got a couple of new portfolio offerings and a number of really sort of exciting roadmaps, so watch this space.